There we go.
record this today.
Okay, we're off and running, starting the new financial year with strategies. We've got a few new releases. I mean, from my side of the equation, we're just building out a brand new subsidiary, Lightyear Training Group, which will give accreditation. We've got some, obviously, the SEPEPA accreditation course, the SMSF Specialist Advisor accreditation course. So that's been around, but that's now been oomphed up to accreditation style. I've got advanced estate planning coming out, and also the mastery of trusts, which will be on the board. In terms of the documents, the good thing about our system, we were just talking about it a while ago with the directors meeting, is instead of building the system from the ground up, which does make it a little bit harder in terms of the integrations, we've chosen one of the top of the line legal document management platforms. We used to use HubDocs, now we use ExpressDocs. And the beauty about that is we can get documents up and on the platform within the space of hours compared to weeks. So it's given us that ability to move, which you're going to notice. We've got the crypto trust, which will be going up next week. That will then be followed by a shareholders agreement. Then we've got a brand new Division 7A suite or package, which includes offset loans against dividends using promissory notes. And also we have got a whole brand new range of HR documents, haven't we been? So you've been working closely on that one. And for strategist members, there's no extra cost. It's all included.
Yeah, it's an absolute no-brainer for accounting firms. So make sure even today, I know we've got a lot of members on today. Please put in the chat box. And make sure to keep up with strategies as well. What we're doing is we're creating a lot more video content for you. So little 1-minute videos. And we don't care if you utilize Grant's video and throw your logo on it for social media purposes. We've created 4 new ebooks for you as well. So there's a new e-signing one, Grant. So it tells you in every single state and every single document what you're allowed to sign and what you're not allowed to sign. So we're creating a lot of marketing content for accountants to repurpose that. If you remember, just throw your logo on it. Make sure you've got Lightyear logo on the side and just repurpose it. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here, but we're telling accountants, you've got all this knowledge, but no one knows about it. And my number one marketing tip for accountants today, for the new financial year, get your team more involved in social media, sharing content as a group. Even on our team, we've got a whole bunch of new team members. The more we see of our team members liking and sharing our content, that gets buy-in. It's the people that don't like and share, they don't have buy-in to your business. They should be sharing tax returns, setting up SMSF, setting up companies through your accounting firm. So utilize your team to grow your business with all these amazing strategies to keep up to date.
Very exciting. And look, I don't need to tell any of you that things are getting a lot harder. And it's almost a daily feature now that the property company has gone down. I saw there was quite a substantial one I read this morning in Melbourne, and it's one that I've known for quite some time. So things are obviously going to get tighter. We've got the joys of high interest rates and also inflation and a recession potentially coming up, which is the obviously stagflation. So I'm not sure whether the Reserve Bank has issued its uplift today, but I saw Commonwealth Bank put an increase of about 1.4% on home mortgages, which is going to have quite a dramatic impact, seeing we've come from such low rates. We've also the concept of the donut effect, which post-COVID has seen people moving to regional areas or to the outer suburbs and not necessarily being closer to the city. And that's going to have a major impact on obviously all the commercial developments. I've noticed even all the law firms aren't forcing their staff back into the city. They're giving them flexible work hours, which is important. So if if law firms are doing it, obviously there's fair work issues there as well. On top of that, we're getting the commissioners pretty aggressive in terms of throwing out with Section 100A, we saw that with promoter penalties. One that I've been working on with Tim, which I find pretty outrageous, is the for professions where you're going to have a certain amount of points that, like a red and a green, that you'll need to look at, where effectively they're going to look at any partner income and from an accounting, engineering, doctors or professional practice needs to be basically going to the main provider. And that starts effectively from the 1st of July 2022. If you haven't seen that, I'll be doing a session with Tim on that a little bit later on, but it is quite, well, what it is the Commissioner telling us how we should arrange our tax affairs, or more importantly, if we do have things like bucket companies and that he'll actually start to look at it. There's no real credence on why he's doing it, but again, he's going to get a lot more aggressive. Now, from that perspective is we need to really look at what we've got. And look, I've been in a number of downturns. I saw, I think, gosh, way back in the 1990s, the recession after the great stock market crash of 87. Everything went into property, and then from 91 to 94 and onwards, we had a recession. So I've seen that one. Most of you probably remember the 2000 after the tech wreck as well. We saw 2008, and they seem to be getting bigger and bigger all the time. This one I'm not sure, but look, from our perspective, look, we're on top of this. We've got a really good suite of shareholders behind us. We don't have to increase our costs. In fact, we've got the lowest costs in the marketplace, if you ask me. But we've also got the ability there to build a lot more tools. And now we're in that second phase of our development where we can split off independent units such as the Lightyear Training Group, which I'll be heading up. Ben obviously has just been brought on as a director at Lightyear. And so we're in a really good position. But the main thing for us, and if you have a look at the bottom one, is from the challenge for you, and I feel very sorry for financial planners who've been basically destroyed mercilessly by ASIC, and also accountants who it's a really tough time. And no doubt you're going to have a lot of clients who will drop off your books, which is it might look as though it's a crisis, but to me it's a great opportunity. Mainly because it brings up our time. And I've got a little statement here, a quote from Steve Jobs, and I think this really says it all. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. And I've sort of lived that motto for most of my life. When you're young, you're a bit of a crazy larrikin, but I've lived that for most of my life because essentially, time is the commodity for us at the moment. And quite often we get, bogged down in administration, doing compliance stuff with the tax office. The hardest thing for accountants is, getting brand new staff, and they're very expensive. The key here is that if we can free ourselves up, if you saw the way that I look after my time every afternoon between 1:30 and 3:30, I spend 2 hours going through daily cases with the Abbott-Family team, so that any issues that are raised there that you may have jumped onto our app and done that. And the app itself is amazing time saver. So the more we can grab back our time, the more we can deliver it into much better opportunities. So it's a good time to get down to business. And this is a little bit scary. And these are true stories, right from the offices or the furnaces of Abbott-Family. You can see over here a woman super fit and then basically just died suddenly in the sleep. And that seems to be happening quite a bit. We see it Abbott-Family, the back end. Number of advisors that come through, or accountants and planners that come through to us and ask us to do probate, or more importantly, help things out because they're in a bit of state of distress. we're finding that a lot of 40s and 50-year-olds, and you can see here are 30-year-olds are basically just dying in their sleep, which is unheard of. And whether it's got something to do with COVID, long COVID or not, we just don't know, because it's way too early. I mean, COVID's still really it's still really burned into our memories. The problem about it is, is that the concept that, we're going to pass away when we're really old, and then we'll set things up then, doesn't really work. We really need to bring that forward quite considerably. And at least if you don't need to get down to the nitty-gritty of doing wills, etc. But we have noticed quite a few people coming through. They're sole directors and sole shareholders as well. And that really has destroyed the trustee companies, and it might be for their SMSF or the family trust, and likewise with their bucket companies or trading concerns, because there's no one there to run them. And if mum and dad are both sort of out of action, it's even worse still. So it's such a simple thing to fix up, but really, and I'll go into it, but it hasn't been done. The other side of the equation is we've seen a lot of people come through and they've been in the process of putting a will together, and quite often they'll do that with the lawyers, but they just haven't got anywhere with it. The feedback that we're getting is that people don't really like going to lawyers. They find it extremely uncomfortable, as though they've done the wrong thing. So again, we see this as a great opportunity for all of us. So simple estate and succession planning can make a huge difference there from that. And I've done some webinars before on what accountants can and can't do, and planners can and cannot do in terms of estate planning, succession planning. Certainly this one, I just note we're now over 3 million companies in Australia. Ben, do you want to take it away? Because I know you've been talking a lot about successor director, and this is really the simplest way for people to get their toe in the water into that succession, asset protection, estate planning.
This is a big one. Just going back on that last case as well, that 31-year-old, I'm a Generation Y. 80% of Generation Y don't have an estate plan. And the simple solution for the sole directors, which I was last year, sole director, until Grant got me onto this and goes, listen, if you pass, you actually don't have a successor as a sole director. And I'm working with a lot of the top 100 accounting firms. And I'm going, well, you review the deed every year or every time you change your provider. Why don't you review your constitution that's been set up 10, 20 years ago and get your house in order? The first thing is to update your current documents and do a massive review. I got back working with Grant again because there are no other providers in the market thinking about succession at the beginning, not the end, when it's too late. And I think this is a huge market for accountants to get involved in. Educate yourself, add new documents to what you're offering right now, because your bread and butter is company formations and trust formations. You're just leaving a lot on the table, and you're missing out on a lot of amazing advice to keep your clients happy and offer them something that no other accountants are offering in the market. Yeah.
And this is part of the success hub that Ben was talking about. We've got a consolidation of resources that even, as I said, just sign up and get a free account and essentially you're off and running. For those of you on POIG, the successor director, I think, is $129. And that includes, I can't believe it, honestly, includes, if you're upgrading, a change of constitution, a set of forward-looking resolutions by the directors to appoint the successor director, sign off by the successor director, and a deed of indemnity. Now that would cost you $1,500 to $1,750 at a legal firm. You should be charging $550 there, but all you have to do is just see this, just take this, copy it, put it into the subject matter of your email, and then just simply copy the rest of this and send it out, or get someone your team. Obviously, if you've got MailChimp or something, then basically put it in there. Put in whatever your pricing is, and all the documents have been signed off by Abbott and Morley. You're going to get a copy of these slides and obviously the videos, so you can go back and have a look at it. But we've got a whole range of stuff in the Success Hub. in the resource section. So make sure that you go ahead and have a look at that, because that's where the real value is, to save you time, but get you into this position as well.
Yeah, and look at the other part as well. Accountants every single year are losing the battle against company formations. More and more, Generation X, Y, baby boomers, they're setting up companies by themselves because they're going to an accountant, right? They're charging between $1,500 to $3,000 for the same document, but then they've got no context behind it. Imagine going, listen, why people go to my accountant is because we also include a successor director solution in the Constitution. So that's why I can get every single accounting firm onto Lightyear Docs, because I'm going, no other providers offering this solution for you. So it's actually an upsell for your clients going, yep, go set it up through company 123, stuff it up, call me and we'll fix it. But you go, listen, if you set up a company through us, you're a sole director, we're also going to include automatically the successor director solution for all new entities. And then same thing with the trusts. It's not just a standard trust, it's a leading member, which is a bloodline. So
absolutely,
this is the language that you got to understand what's in your documents and know how to tell that value to your clients, because you've got to give them those two options. Go set it up by yourself, just a normal constitution. But if something happens, you don't have this successor director solution. So
I can tell you, Ben, the number of times you get accountants give us a call and say, oh, look, our client set it up and they did it themselves and they got an ACN, but they forgot about getting a constitution. They're just not aware of what it is. So look, it's really important. And again, you can go and set up like the average, shares, but you just don't need that. We've got special purpose stuff for special reasons, and each one has its own element. So successor directors there, look, given from what we're seeing at Abbott and Morley, you must just go out. Look, I don't care if you take away anything today. I don't care if you even give it away to your clients and do it for cost. You really need to get on top of this, send that email out to the clients, and then build a successor director. It's only going to take you, for strategist members, you can do, if a client's got multiple companies, you can do it all in one line. If you're just on PAYG, you have to do them separately. But effectively, you can do, probably about 5 or 6 in an hour. If you're charging $5.50 for that, that's a pretty good return on your money.
Yeah.
Okay. Can't leave out SMSF estate planning. Now, I'm going to do a bit of a plug on this one, all of you, is that tomorrow I've got a session. For those of you who are SEPEPA members and say hello on the chat, I've got a specialist session tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. For SEPEPA members, we're going to go through Hill and Zuda and also the Permi1 case. So one is the looking at BDBNs and what rubbish they are. We're also going to be looking at Permi1, which was a recent case around the protector and, importantly, succession planning. So that's absolutely crucial as well. If you want to go on a deep dive with me tomorrow, come to that one. But finally, you go on.
Yeah, Grant, just a quick question from Warren. Is there a guide to what best company type to use? Now, before you order any
good point, Warren. Well done.
Yeah, so this is great. So we've actually got 5 types of formations in the Lightyear Docs platform. But before you order the document, here's a tip. Click the About button. It gives you the FAQ, the benefits, and the quick 1-minute video on each. Now you can reach out to the strategist team through the app and they can help you with that as well. But Grant, the guide, we definitely need to put a one.
Yeah, no, it's a good pot. So what I'll do is, thanks for that, Warren. And that's the good thing about this system is that, when we get feedback like that, we can build it really quickly and put it up. So you've got ones that are special purpose discretionary trustee companies. You've got ones that are leading member that Ben talks about. You've got SMSF, special purpose, SMSF leading members. We've also got, obviously, our standard shareholder. And our standard shareholder now, I think, in fact, includes founding shares or founder shares, which is absolutely crucial. So we've got a whole blast there. So I might write something this week so we can get a
that's a really good ebook for our
of the
members.
guide.
Just go, why do a standard company versus the other types of companies? And an accountant should market this out. Because you look at last month, there was 25,000 entities set up last month. The month before, guess what? 20,000. For the last 24 months, it's over 20,000 every single month in a pandemic. Right?
I know. And how many of them have got successor director? None. But see, you can offer that. You can offer that directly.
Yeah.
So one is it means you got your conscience clear anyway.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out this one is that finally, I've been talking about SMSF estate planning for, since the 1998, I think, around about there when we used to use lifetime reversionary pensions. In those days, because once you turned 65, you had to take your money out of the system unless you had a pension. So what I did is I just pulled these stats. These are the latest stats, which were published in March 2022 by the tax office. It gives you an idea of these are fresh off the boat, so to speak. Gives you an idea there of the number of members over age 50. Even if you have a look at those people over age 65, you've got around about 600,000 people there. Now, the interesting thing is, if you look at people over age 50, around about 80% of SMSF wealth is in that body. And most of these people haven't got any estate planning. So you can start to see people waking up around succession planning. And again, we want to have that successor director. If you're using our special purpose SMSF trustee company, what happens there is the executor automatically gets appointed as a director on that board when the person dies. That's when that person dies. And then when it comes around to the distribution of any benefits under SMSF will, it is only that executor who actually has the power to vote in that meeting. Now, no one else thinks about that one, but it makes sense because the last thing you want to do is have a fight on an SMSF board, particularly if you've got, second spouses on there or children or whatever. So it works. We've thought about that whole succession planning through quite well. On my list of SMSF estate planning, the first and most important is the reversionary pension. And the reason I say that is that the BDBN, or it depends, it effectively can be challenged, but a reversionary pension can't be challenged because once it dies, it passes on to the next person. It's never, ever property of the deceased, never, ever. So a family provisions claim, a notional estate can't apply to that concept. So that's why I love reversionary pensions. It can build multi-generational reversionary pensions in our suite. Second one is the SMSF will. And again, if you have a look at Hill and Zuda, when I'm going to go through it tomorrow, the key thing is it's going to depend on what your trust deed says. Now, a BDBN is, a BDBN is specifically built, and this is what the High Court said, it's essentially built for non-self-managed super funds, industry and retail super funds. That's what the law was put in there. Why we would be using that term in an SMSF. You're telling people how fantastic SMSFs are, and then you're giving them rubbish old industry super fund crap. So it just doesn't make sense. You've got to get that premium stuff in. Now, if the deed has it, then it's fine. But you'll see tomorrow when I start talking about it, there's about 6 to 10 different components that an SMSF will needs to be to cover. And look, I prefer it. And then Hill and Zuda basically says SMSF wills are right up there. One of the best value-added strategies for adults, adult children, I'm going to cover a couple of those on there. When you're going through the process of doing an SMSF will, you'll find that you can give it to the spouse. So the spouse can take it, but if the spouse has got issues with the transfer pension balance, there may be issues there. Alternatively, there might be the last spouse or last person standing, so it has to go down to adult children. Again, you don't want to push it out to the estate because of family provisions claims, fights. And the mere fact is, as soon as you push it out, you're in strife because you're going to have to wait at least 3 months for probate, maybe longer if it's contested. And then if you have a family provisions claim, it could take like another 2 to 3 years. If you have a look in Queensland, you can't even distribute the estate until 6 months. Many states are more than 12 months. So why would you be putting money in the estate where it's actually giving a grief to the family? The better action is to pay directly out of the superannuation fund. But again, you want to have that asset protection. So you can create an SMSF death benefits, or what we call a testamentary trust, comes out of the SMSF directly, doesn't go through the estate. If you have a look at it, testamentary trusts in a state are a lot weaker than obviously the ones that are in the SMSF will. On top of that, obviously, we're deeply concerned. And again, I was seeing this all the time. It's just crazy that people haven't planned properly. But we end up with a situation that, if you're going to have adult children, you have to plan for it. If parents are giving children some financial largesse or ongoing financial support, get it down in the document, because at least at that time, you can argue that potentially that they are financially dependent. And it doesn't have to be just the adult, the child. It can be any of the spouse of the adult child. You can also include their children. So that's why a family allowance fits in really well. The good thing about all of this is, and I think from the accounting perspective, again, I'd encourage you to do the SEPEPA course and the SMSF Specialist Advisor Accreditation course. For those of you who have already done those, make sure you sign up for the Advanced Estate Planning and the Mastery of Trust coming up as well. From that perspective, though, it's not a financial product under the Corporations Act. So, and it also sits outside the member's will. So you can see there's a lot of action that can happen in that regard. New estate planning, testamentary trusts. So we can do our basic wills, but to be brutally honest, a basic will doesn't do much, because at some point in time, mum and dad are going to pass away. So then it's going to go down to the next generation. And all of you know about trusts is that particularly there's been a lot of case law in the family law area that monies that go into a testamentary trust from the will of, say, mum or dad, the opposing counsel can't even look at the trust deed. They can't even have a look at the will. So it's a very exciting opportunity there. Also protects against litigation. It's got great asset protection. So my thematic is always start with a client. You want to do an SMSF will if they've got one. Obviously, you have to do an enduring power of attorney. Everyone's got to do that. If you haven't learned that from COVID, even for your kids, because you can't deal with the banks, you can't deal with government officers unless you've got a valid enduring power of attorney. And I can tell you what, it can get caught short. I got caught short with my mum's in that her enduring power of attorney that was prepared by a lawyer wasn't prepared correctly. There've been a number of different signing ones, and I couldn't even deal with the bank. And poor mum, 87, in the midst of COVID, very weak, and I'm having to spend 2 hours on the phone with her with ANZ because they decided to close her check account and put it to another account. It's not pleasant, where if I'd had that valid enduring power of attorney, it would have been fine. But anyway, that's just life. So just be careful. So we want to go to that guide, and there's a really good book. I think if we can put that up on the chat, Chris, the link to the book, have a look through that guide to testamentary trusts. We use it a lot with our clients, particularly at AM as well. Just go through, talks about the benefits of testamentary trusts, asset protection, litigation protection, family law protection, although you can never, family law can change on a dime. But again, you're doing as best as you can with what you've got. From that one, there's also data capture at the back where the client can build their own testamentary trust. Who's the appointer? Who's the executor? Is it going to just be bloodline beneficiaries or not? So even just do it for yourself. And then what I would suggest is it's probably not a bad idea, certainly for the first few anyway, is that utilisation of Abbott and Morley. So we charge a flat fee of $7.95, and essentially what you'll do is you'll do the data capture, you'll do the documents up online. For those of you as strategists, you would actually build the moat and castle, and you can do the EPO will with TT and also SMSF will on that platform. What you can do there is you'll build those documents, send it to us along with the interview and the data capture. That'll go to one of our team. you log into our Abbott-Family app, which I'll show you a little bit later on, and then we can have real discussion on the spot. It's fantastic. We have all our meetings there if we're involved, so it's a very quick turnaround. From that perspective is also the $7.95 will have 1 or 2 meetings with your client. You'll have given us all the stuff. We then go and fix it up. We then review the document. And essentially, we sign off on that document. So we can charge you $7.95 and you charge your client. If it's for a couple, you'll be looking at obviously 2 lots of $7.95, although we can discount it if they're very closely aligned. For that, it should be around about $3,800 for EPOA each of $350, which is pretty cheap. Will with TT, normally if you look at most lawyers, would charge $1,700 to $1,800 on that, and an SMSF was around about $700. So, that's a really good $5,000 package, and then effectively just go out and sell it and work on it, and then we can get involved with that as well. I've just got a question here. So, how do you join the webinar tomorrow morning if you're not a SAPEPA member? Well, because you guys did the right thing today, what I'll do is Chris, if you can you just put the link up there for SAPEPA? So it gives you an idea of what the SAPEPA Association's about. If you've got 9 to 11, it's a really deep dive. Just bear in mind that all the SAPEPA members have been through the course. They've got a good idea. So I'm going to be going high and showing you what to do now.
And Grant, Gary's got a good one as well. What about structure advice? Best entity to buy an investment property with?
Was that for a book or?
Sorry, best entity.
Okay, so that
investment property.
Okay, so if I was doing it and having a look at the thematic, and we started it today, this is where the opportunity is. There's no one in this planet, well, maybe the Chinese and others, but generally, there's no one on this planet is going to say that Western economies are going to do very well in the short to long term. We've simply just been printing too much money, and we all did for COVID. So what's happened has been a tsunami of money going out, and then the wave comes back, and then you see what destructions happen, and it's happened in the property market. Michael Jeffries at Venom Optimum, they do a lot of debt restructuring, and they're just so busy. So we've got to be in front of it, and the same with you. We've got to be really on top of it. Professionals, doctors, any professional needs to have effective support. So what I would do is, and if you can see this, you're going to get these slides, as I said, is that the first thing that we all need to build is a family protection trust. So you might already have your own trading trust or discretionary trust. So you really want to build something that's quite separate. So this is for family wealth protection. If you've done it, you'll see that you have the family protection trustee company, and then the only shareholder is the family protection appointor. So I'm the family protection appointor. I'm also the sole shareholder in that family protection trust. Now, I'm potentially the at-risk person, but that's fine because I can switch out of that really quickly. My wife's also a director on that company, but I've also got my business partner as a successor director, mainly because, Amanda, my wife, is not, financially, she's more the arty sort of person, which is fantastic for me. So what we do is we build that line of succession for our family protection trusts. So now this is your go-to for all your investments. So what I would be doing is you set up the family corporate trustee. It's all bloodline. So it's only bloodline who can look after it. Down the track, probably not right now, but with that family protection trust, Gary, if mum and dad go and children are in there, it's the best thing. I'll just put I'm just going to give you a bit of heads up. In the next 15, 20 years, guaranteed death duties in Australia. Absolutely. Millennials like Ben and all that will effectively be in a position of running the country, which is a bit scary, but they're going to be the have-nots compared to the haves, which are the baby boom generation. So we're going to see that there's going to be a need to balance the budget. There's been quite a lot of papers. It's called they don't call it death duties, they call it an intergenerational transfer tax. And they're looking at levying it at 20% above $500,000 in assets, so 20%. And that will then be able to reduce the income taxes of everyone else. So you can see why they're doing it. But if we've got our family protection trust and got it set up and solidified, the beauty about the trust, particularly if we set up in South Australia, the jurisdiction that effectively we've got a position there that there is no perpetuity period of 80 years. So we want to go down that track and build your best investments in there. So the first thing is that if clients have got investments outside of there, Gary, which is important, if they sell the investment property, put the cash into the family protection trust and then lend it out for the next investment property. So this is like your secondary bank. Likewise, if you've got shares that have got no capital gains on them, if the market is going to go down, but once it goes down, if you've eradicated your capital gains or you're in capital loss position, transfer those shares over, gold, whatever you've got that's not going to create stamp duty or CGT, do that. If you've got a business, this is a little bit different. So if I've got a business and it's sitting in an existing trading company, which has probably got exposure written all over it, what I suggest you do is you move your assets, such as your databases, intellectual property, anything else, goodwill, and transfer them over to a separate asset holding company, which is held by our family protection trust. Have a look at the small business concessions in relation to that. So the transfer may be tax-free if we can still show the small business, and then we can lease back or license back all of those assets back to our original trading trust. So it gives us a really good solid build there. So we call that the business protector. Any other assets such as our family homes, etc., that we aren't able to move at the moment, then what we do is effectively we just do the gift loan back strategy on that one. We've got a couple of bells and whistles which I'll be announcing tomorrow at SEPEP around that to look at Permi One and just how to strengthen it. One of the areas we just came across this the other day is a client who is in the late stages of cancer. They're staying at their own home, but at some point in time, they're going to have to go into aged care. So in that instance, the best idea is when they sell their property, transfer all the cash into the family protection trust, and then you can do your refundable accommodation deposit all through there. So you want to have everything into that one vehicle because it sits outside family provisions claims, with the exception of potentially, depending on when you die in New South Wales, you've got that 3-year clawback. But essentially we want to have everything sitting in there. So the more interaction we can have in there, the best. But I'll look at that again tomorrow. I want to give you some what I believe are some pretty important strategies for year end. For all existing discretionary trusts, we're seeing quite a lot coming through to Abbott-Family. If you have some really old discretionary trusts, you can go and upgrade them on the existing Light Year Doc system. You can see just up here in the document wizard. But essentially, particularly if you've got old ones, you want to get rid of them. Anything before 2010 is gone. Actually, 2012 is just gone because the number of ones I see that don't allow streaming and more importantly, focus in on net income, which is generally the case before 2012 or 2011, which means that where you've been distributing accounting income that is not net income, then basically you're in a bit of strife there. So we've got to make sure that our deed is all important. From that one is I'd be going and refreshing it, particularly after all the section 100A. One of the ones that I would say, another strategy you might have missed out here as well, I don't think I put it in there. Other one is they go move UPEs. So if you've got UPEs in the current discretionary trust owed to kids or whatever, what I would do is I would be moving those over to the family protection trust and then securing against assets sitting in that family trust. So again, we're consolidating all our good stuff into that family protection trust. So I see that two trust strategy is absolutely crucial. One bloodline, one bloodline and family protection. The other one is just a straight discretionary trust.
Grant, just quickly on this,
Yep.
that will lead into the Succession Asset Protection Estate Planning event next week. It's $249 a ticket. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a free code on here for all the attendees today with the link. If you're in Sydney, come and see us live. Me, Grant,
Absolutely. Come and have a drink. Have a drink on Ben's tab.
That's
Sweet.
right. I'll be on Craig's West account, so it's even better. So we're going to be in Sydney next week, but it's going to be live streamed. So Succession, Asset Protection and Estate Planning. So Estate Planning 101, case studies. So Grant Abbott, Craig West, Michael Jeffries, and then I'll be going through how to implement all of this with the right marketing. But if you can't make it, just register for the live event. So it will be recorded as well. But we'd love to see everyone in Sydney for that. But we're going to put the links in the chat group right now too.
Yeah, it's got 6 CPDs, so definitely come along because I'll be showing the new shareholders agreement and also the new Div 7A agreement as well. Plus, I've got a lot of real live case studies as well, so it's going to be quite exciting. So convert your discretionary trusts. I think there's again, if you go into the Success Hub in the resource section, there's an email there, the 5 reasons why clients should upgrade their discretionary trusts. While they're in there, you'll also see within that email, there's discussion if they want to go down that leading member bloodline, royal family style trust, that essentially that's an option. So I'd be going anyway, everywhere. We've got a couple of our accountants who, when they set up the leading member discretionary trust for clients, they're charging anywhere between $3,000 to $4,500 for that. So it's just not a normal discretionary trust. It's one there to protect your family wealth for your bloodline. So it's very unique to give clients that choice. Again, it's all there. There's a booklet again on the Success Hub. In fact, we might even do a session if you're interested. Chuck it in the chat. We might even do a session on that Success Hub so we can show you what is behind those doors, because I've spent a lot of time and all the team have putting in a whole range of stuff that's basically there for you to really improve your business, and it doesn't cost anything. Next one is obviously the best time to do super contributions are now. So it would depend on, it's also a hard looking one, but I would strongly look at depending, if you've got a 60-year-old or someone who's over 60, it's not a bad idea if they're still working, obviously give up one form of gainful employment, and then essentially they can start living off their super. And then I would just be salary sacrificing everything into super. So there is no limit. If you go above your caps, then it's excess concessional, which is added back to your taxable income, and there's no penalties anymore. So if you do that, you're going to have to pay tax on that until July 2024, where you can just simply take money out of the superannuation fund to pay your tax bill. Importantly, you've got that capital working for you right from the start. The big issue is the earlier you do that, particularly if you've got some free cash flow, the better off it is. And this applies just to a 30-year-old. So someone who's on a high ticket, they can put the money in. July 2024, the commission is going to come back and amend your assessment, because if you've just done 100% salary sacrifice, because you've got money elsewhere to live on, they'll come back and amend your assessment, give you amended assessment so that your tax liability will be whatever it is for the year ending 30 June 2023. You'll have a 15% tax offset, but you've got 60 days to pull out 85% of your excess. So it's a pretty good position. Just bear in mind that excess is also non-concessional, so you've got to make sure you fit within your caps as well. So I wouldn't be frightened about really maxing out super this year. The other thing is when you do put the money into super, that capital is going to be invested. Ideally, you'd like to get deductions, offsets, etc. SMSF lending, I'd be getting in pretty sooner rather than later. So again, I'm talking about death duties or it doesn't sound nice, intergenerational transfer tax. Watch out for that one. Really, the only way out is that family protection trust. Anything else, you're just going to get stung. And that includes obviously super as well. They're looking at extending death benefits tax and super. Don't know why, but it's as big enough as it is. So with that one, I would also look at the fact that we've got a Labor government that's really run by unions and obviously industry funds, which are funding the whole thing. Expect to see borrowings drop off at some point in time. They'll come up with some scurrilous thing. So I'd get in now, get your deductions, your capital allowance, your depreciation. That's going to reduce your contributions tax again. If you've got current pensions, I've just had a person caught out and spent an hour on a phone call, which was fantastic, but they just had the basic pension, no reversionary. It was quite interesting there, though. Within the deed, it actually ended up working out quite well, but within the deed, the member, once the member died, their membership ceased. So effectively meant all income being generated on their account, it was quite a sizable pension account, had to be left within the funder's earnings for the other members of the fund, which was quite beneficial for them, believe it or not, for a whole range of reasons. But you've just got to be careful about your trustee. Their multi-generational reversionary pension can go from, mum and dad down to grandchildren if you want to do that style of things, because if they started off pension at their age and it's tax-free, then it's going to be tax-free forever holds that. So it's quite beneficial. If it goes down to grandchildren, just share it amongst whoever the grandkids are. That certainly benefits the adults and provides some asset protection, particularly if you've got the grandchildren who are young and still have to go to private schools, etc. So it's a great way of getting tax-free income out of super there. And we look at that inside the SMSF course quite in detail. As I said, use the tools in the Light Year Docs Hub. I'll definitely do a session on that at some stage because it's, I think it's a pretty important element for us as well. Now, this is Ben's big blast. So Ben and I did this model many years ago when we were at Now Infinity. I can tell you, if we're at Now Infinity, there would only been about, having a look at that, none of these strategies were available when we originally did this. Maybe the SMSF trust deed upgrades.
Yeah.
So it just shows you how much we're really on that strategic side of the equation. And again, just the bloodline trusts and all that sort of stuff. It's nothing sophisticated for us in terms of legals or tax, and you're not trying to minimize tax, but it has a huge impact on the family going down the track. So do you want to take us through this, Mr. Ben?
Yeah, so this is a really good question that accountants should be asking themselves at this time. Do you focus on new business or you want to service your existing clients? So this is why we put in at the top. You can put in your super funds or the number of companies that you have. So let's say you got 50 super funds, you put it up in the top. And you might go, listen, I haven't updated my deeds in the last 2 years. So that's a project you want to do. So we've put that pricing model of updating the deeds at around $400 is the average price in the market. It's a really interesting one that we'll be doing it at the live event next Friday. I would normally do it on this, but we're just running out of time a little bit. But you ask accountants what they would charge for this. It ranges from $200 to $800. It's quite an interesting one on how accountants are repricing their legal documents. So you put in your price, your conversion rate, and you'll have your total revenue. But if you just look at this model, it's got just your bread and butter documents, which are your trusts, companies, super, your upgrades, your distributions, and maybe loan agreements. Now, once you become a strategist member through us, and why we've developed Light Year Docs is we have 150 documents right now. This month, we're adding another 40. So you look at that, that's 190 ways to make money. So you look at how you're going to reprice it, going to look at how you would market these strategies out to your client base. And I can't say this enough, repurpose our marketing material. We're happy to do this. Grant's written 4 ebooks in the last 3 months for you. So just throw your logo on it and get it out to your clients. Get your team on social media with this. Share the content. You should be doing 5 company corporations a month minimum, all accounting firms. I don't care if you're a startup, but if you type in the word entrepreneur and company setup, and the other biggest word is SMSF, they're the 3 biggest Googled AdWords in the country right now. But if you Google it in your local area and your accounting firm doesn't come up, you don't exist on the web right now. So you're missing out on all of those leads. And wouldn't you like to be an accountant that's doing, 120 grand a year in just company formation and trust formations? It's just the bread and butter. Now, once you get out of the best practice strategies, the basic documents, then you're getting into leading member documents. So this is why we created an education platform. So you've got the protector strategy, which is a big one right now, updating your constitutions to a successor director. And then we're going into more the estate planning documents. And you've got 2 options with estate planning: is you go through Abbott-Family and don't touch it at all, or you do the course, right, Grant, and you become a SPEPA member and you really scale this out. But you look out of this, out of 17 strategies, there's $2.7 million of revenue for an accounting firm out of 300 clients. An accountant should really do this at this time of year of what you're going to focus on, what strategies you need to learn, and what marketing material you need to get out to your client base. If you don't have a database, pick 5 team members, add up their Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and their social media accounts. You've got 20,000 out of 5 people, guaranteed. But I guarantee right now, none of your team members are liking, sharing new content every single week. You've got to get this out to your clients and repurpose all the content that Grant goes through every single week. He writes it for you. It's all covered off by Abbott-Family. Just repurpose it. So make sure you utilize that Success Hub. That's why we renamed it from the support site to the Success Hub, because you will be successful if you repurpose the content that we've built. But we've got this in there as well. So just download it, put your strategies in, put your pricing, what you want to focus on this year. Please give us feedback on this of what new strategies and new documents we can add for you.
Well, shareholders agreement is obviously going to be a big one in there as well.
And we've left that off because how many variables are there to that, Grant? And we wanted to do that properly. There's a lot of providers that have got basic shareholder agreements, and I've spoken to a lot of the accountants on here today. We want to do it correctly and give you a lot of different variables and different fields and different connections.
Actually, just on that one, I'll go through the process. So I've had a look at a few shareholders agreements. We've got our good, strong one from Abbott-Family, a good base one that's been signed off, and we use it AM. Obviously, if it needs tweaking, then you can come through AM, but you'll have a lot of variables, as Ben said. The key about it is that we start off with the base document, and then we get feedback from you guys. And for example, the trust distribution resolutions, we had a number of feedback this year. In fact, I had one of Ben's best mates who was trying to tell me that, for the last 15 years, he's been doing trust distribution resolutions without any meetings, which he failed to understand that you can't make a resolution unless it's actually from a meeting. So I don't know what he'd been doing for that period of time. But we ended up building some circulating minutes. We put in a lot more streaming options and about 3 or 4 other different things. But as we said, the beauty about our system is we can make things on the fly, so that when you go through the shareholders agreement, just say, look, we'd like this here, or we'd like that there, and we can build it in fairly quickly, which is important. So this business success model, the only thing that's really stopping you is the time, because I can go in and because I know how to create these, and, feel free to use some of our resources. But, if I got your database and threw it into MailChimp, get it verified first, and then each month I'd be sending out a brand new piece of marketing material. For those of you who are with SPEPA, come along to the session tomorrow, and again, I'd encourage all of you to come if you want to come, just so you can see what we're doing. We've launched our international conference, which is from the 13th to the 15th of December This year it's in Fiji at the Sheridan Fiji Golf and Country Club Beach Resort. It's a beautiful resort. It's just gone through a $50 million upgrade. I was there earlier this year and they've got fantastic, second to none conference facilities. It's not going to be a big conference, but it's a great one for networking. Remember, this is the first ever, so we're going to be pushing it pretty hard. So if you come along to that, that'd be absolutely awesome. You're going to see some great international speakers, but there will actually be going through a process of Tim Munro, Michael Jeffries, and myself. Each of us will be doing a separate interview with people from the audience, so you can see the 3 different styles. You'll then get an opportunity to practice yourself on other participants. So it's going to be a really great session for you. Also, Manish Sundarji is the convention chairman. We're going to be rolling out our marketing material, which will come out each month for you. So there's a lot of good stuff coming on there. Just the final one is for Abbott and Morley. For those of you who've got your Surge app, you know how that works. Well, we've found it's actually taken our legal practice to the next level, where from, as I said, our team work it from virtually 7 o'clock in the morning until around about 12 o'clock at night. So we've got people all around the planet who are using this, not only Australian law, but also international law, particularly international property law, intellectual property law, so that, you can get on, get the Abbott Morley app from the Play Store, or if you get it from Apple or Google, download it. You can then go in and set up a case in our system. So it's the best way of contacting us. And as I said, we manage that process. If you're on our app at any time between 2 and 4 in the afternoon, you can just jump on and ask us any question there, which is fantastic. So again, it's just part of the service without tying up with Lightyear Docs. The final one is, this is the call to action for Mr. Ben. He's already talked about some.
Yeah, so just make sure for next Friday is a really big one for us. So it's Craig West, Grant Abbott, Michael Jeffries. So register for the Sydney event if you can come along to, or live stream. It will be recorded and sent to you. So estate planning.
I like the streaming, given all the water that's coming from Sydney.
I know.
We'll probably be streaming down George Street.
I've had, what was it, Zero Con at the start of the year flooded out. BGL Roadshow flooded out. And now, our week before an event in Sydney, it's the whole city's flooding. So good times for events in Sydney at the moment. But make sure you can come. It will be Friday. Have drinks with us. If not, come onto the live stream. We've got end of year offers for both courses. So reach out to Talitha direct. She'll give you a deal there. That should be an absolute no-brainer for you to jump onto the courses. And if you do not have a free account with us and you're not a Lightyear member, go to the front of the site, create a free account, and you can email me direct at ben@lightyeardocs.com.au for our start of year offers. Should be a no-brainer for you if you are not a member. Contact me direct and we'll look after you today. But we just wanted to say Happy New Year. And thank you all so much for taking out the time today. Thank you to all of our members for making Lightyear of what it is today. And you should see the new things that were launched this month is Zero launch, EPL, HR docs, shareholder agreements, new loan agreements. We have 42 releases just this month alone. So Ash and the development team have done an amazing job, but that's from all of your feedback. And we just wanted to thank you for that. Grant, you've got one more thing to sign off?
Yep, so I probably can't do it any better than this. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. And we're on this journey with you. The whole succession, asset protection, estate planning space is a boomer. It's $6 trillion. We are right at, year dot. So we're in a very exciting place. You know it from dealing with your clients that it's the right thing to do. You know it's really important. We're building systems and tools and resources and training and legal support there for you. So again, the only thing I can take you back is your time is limited. So make sure that you spend it wisely, because you don't get it back. When you have a look, COVID seems as though it was like millennials ago, but it only really just finished just a few months ago, and now it's suddenly moved on to the next thing. So again, just be careful, look inside and look at what you really want to achieve while you can. Anyway, it's Grant Abbott and also Mr. Ben Gill signing off.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Okay, bye.